Well, I think it's about high time we get these Walker Evans on the back so we can really test what the Pioneer 500 will do with good shocks on it. I hope my last video with the fronts was a help to everyone on deciding whether or not they wanted to go with the Walker Evans shocks or not. And I'm excited to see what putting these guys on the rear is really going to do for this machine. But before we throw them on there, let's get our numbers. So with the stock shocks, I'm going to get our ride height here. And I'm just going to go to the top of my little box here because that's a nice flat area where it's just easy to find and measure to. And with the stock shocks, we are exactly 45.5 inches. Now, one thing that was suggested I do for this test is to see how the rear shocks do under load. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to find some weight to put in the back of this guy. We'll see how much it squats with the stock, then we'll see how much it squats with the Walker Evans. Alright, so for weight here, I got a couple bucketfuls of lead from bullet castings that my father-in-law does. So we're going to put them in there. Now, believe it or not, holy cow, this little guy here is about 90 pounds. This little guy here is only right around 60 pounds. So that in itself is quite a bit to squat her down on. I squatted her down about an inch there with that. You know what? I think we can get her to squat more. There's a true test for it. With my 170 pounds, we dropped it down to 43.5 inches. So we'll see how the Walker Evans resists the squat. Oh, I need to build in a removable tailgate. Now, unfortunately on the backs, we don't have quite the same amount of room to get in here like we did on the front. But I'm still going to try to do this without having to take the back tire off. Again, the less we have to do, the quicker these can go in. Hopefully the quicker these can go in. The rear shocks are held on with 17mm bolts and not 14 like the front. Get it back here. I got that one. Piece of cake. Now, one thing we do have to decide with these guys is where and how we're going to mount the remote reservoir. So this is going to be about here. I think we got to keep in mind this hose for the remote reservoir. We don't want it sticking out there too far to get caught on anything. Let's try this other one here. Do something like that. I don't know if you can see this, but we can still get in there and adjust the knob easy enough. Or if we want to mount it up here to this, we want to come in here so we can kind of protect it. Alright, I'm going to think about this a minute. I'll be right back. Alright, so as you can see, I got this rear one all mounted up. Now I wanted to give you a close-up here so you can see how I mounted the shock reservoir. But I actually put it on top of the frame here where it'll be up out of the way protected instead of having it here on the outside. And I routed the steel braided line for it on the inside of the frame. Again, so it's not there catching rocks and sticks that I might run into in the woods. And as you can see here, I still got plenty of clearance from my hot exhaust, and it being a steel braided line, it should be alright anyway, but I'm not up against that, so I should be good. And there is one thing I discovered though on these rears that I'll show you as I get to the other side. So here's a little setback I kind of run into with these Walker Evans shocks. Now the bushings that they sent worked perfectly on the front. The ones for the back, however, when I was installing the other side, I noticed the inside, although they're machined enough for the thread part to go through, as you can see, they will not slip over the wider part where the threads aren't cut. So that leaves you with three options here. Either replace the bolts with ones that'll fit. If you have access to a drill press like I do, you could actually drill these out a little farther. And for your average Joe who doesn't have access to a drill press or doesn't want to run and buy new bolts, especially for the price that you pay for these, you can simply, once everything's in place, drive the bolts through the bushings enough that you can get the nut started on the other side and then draw them right in. That's not too difficult. That's what I did on the other side. But for the premium price we pay for these shocks, I would like to see these bushings machined down enough that the bolts will slip right through without having to fuss with anything. Okay, so the rear Walker Evans are all installed. Again, I was able to work around the tire without having to take it off fairly easy. And aside from them bushing inserts being a little too tight on the bolts, the installation again was just as easy as the front. Now those bushings being a little tight did probably take me an extra 5-10 minutes to get the bolt through, but not too big a deal, easily doable, just a little frustrating, that's all. So now that these are all installed, we're going to check our measurement again. Now this time I didn't touch the preloads or do anything to them. They're exactly where they were at right out of the box. And we're at 45.5, the same as we were on the OEM ones. So Walker Evans has them adjusted to match the OEMs. So let's see how it does on the squat test. Here we go! Bucket number 1. I need a hand with this kind of stuff. 95. Bucket number 2, not quite as bad. And then finally,
Yeah.
So without adjusting the preloads, and I have the compression setting on 4, same as the front, which I did my other testing with. We squatted 42 3/4. So they squatted a little more than the factory, but all that means is it's going to give us a cushionier ride when we're out there hitting the bumps. And if you're someone that likes to haul a bunch of stuff around, again, you could always adjust the preloads down to give you additional height. So all in all, I'm very happy with the installation for both the front and the back. So now I'm going to take this guy and run it through the paces again and see how much of a difference the backs make in conjunction with the front. And answer the question that's on everyone's mind, is it worth getting all 4 or just the front's enough? So I'm going to get to work. You enjoy the rest of your day, and until next time, keep on riding.